everyone, my name is Sarah, and this video discusses SDG number 14, Life Below Water. This goal aims to conserve and sustainably use the oceans, sea, and marine resources for sustainable development.
Did you know that our rainwater, drinking water, weather, climate, coastlines, and oxygen are regulated by the ocean? The United Nations says saving our oceans must remain a priority because it's critical to the health of humans and the planet. More than 3 billion people rely on the ocean. 80% of world merchandise trade is carried by the sea. Efforts include protecting marine areas through effective management, regulations, and teamwork. The oceans are important for a sustainable future, but they are at risk of deterioration from pollution and climate change. Some aquatic areas saw a brief relief from humans because of the 2020 COVID-19 shutdowns. But in many cases, the pandemic also caused a disruption in monitoring of oceanic species, regulation meetings, and tourism funding. The countries who pollute the oceans the most are China, Indonesia, Philippines, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Egypt, Thailand, Malaysia, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Brazil, and the USA. These are the current efforts and issues. Ocean acidification. This occurs when the ocean absorbs atmospheric CO2. Carbon dioxide emissions increase each year, meaning oceans are absorbing more and more. This causes a decrease in pH levels, which threatens marine organisms and sensitive habitats. The open ocean has seen a continuous decline in pH over the last 30 years. Coastal eutrophication. The pollutions from land can cause an overflow of nutrients. Algal blooms are a result of this and can be devastating for local coastal areas. Although it continues to be a challenge, there was a 20% decrease of algal blooms in some areas in 2020. Protected areas. The coverage of marine biodiversity areas increased globally from 28% in 2000 to 44% in 2020. There are large-scale marine protected areas, or LSMPAs, in place, which protects areas that are at least 100,000 square kilometers. But using this system is difficult because of country border conflicts, managements, and if people need the resources. Improved regulations. This includes monitoring and surveillance, which are proven successful. 30% of fish stocks are overfished, and adopting regulations are slow in many developing countries. Globally, commercial fishing that is within sustainable levels has decreased by 90% since 1974. This goes against one of SDG 14's targets to restore overfished stocks. In 13 countries that have assessments and management systems for fishing, their biological sustainable levels were higher than world average of 65.8%. But 2018 through 2020 saw a decrease in illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Also from 2018 to 2020, saw progress for the rights of small-scale fisheries in Northern Africa and Western Asia. This is important because sustainable fisheries can increase GDP, or gross domestic product. Improving GDP can generate economic growth and local development. Regulations need to be better. Otherwise, the poor decisions made in resource management can compromise conservation, local livelihood, and sustainable goals. Ethics. SDG 14 is controversial because of the protections placed over small or large areas of the ocean. If the nearest country is poor and needs the resources to feed people, this can become an ethical challenge. Should we focus on SDG 1, Zero Hunger, by letting people fish in protected areas? Here are other SDG 14 statistics that are shocking. 30% of marine habitats have been destroyed. 15 tons of plastic are released into the ocean each minute. 20% of all coral reefs have been destroyed irreversibly. Another 24% is at risk. Annually, 1 million seabirds, 100,000 marine mammals, an unknown number of fish are harmed or die from humans. 95% of Fulmar seabirds in Norway have plastic parts in their gut. There are 5 garbage patches, 1 in the Indian Ocean, 2 in the Atlantic Ocean, and 2 in the Pacific Ocean. These garbage patches are formed by rotating ocean currents called gyres. The biggest one is in the Great Pacific Garbage Patch in between Hawaii and California. Its size is 1.6 million square kilometers, or about 3 times the size of France. It extends from the ocean surface to the floor. The trash ranges from mini plastics to plastic chairs. Japan is surrounded by many oceans. The Sea of Okhotsk is to the north in the 4 main islands of Japan. The Pacific Ocean is to the east and south, and East China Sea is to the southwest. And lastly, the Sea of Japan is on the west. There are 6,852 islands, where 430 of those are inhabited. The coastlines stretch more than 29,740 kilometers. Everyone is within 149 kilometers from a coastline at any location. In the Sea of Japan, there are more than 800 species of aquatic plants and 3,500 animal species, including 900 species of crustaceans, 1,000 fish species, and 26 mammal species. The fishing industry has a rich history. At one point in the 1930s, Japan had the largest fishing fleet in the world. Their main catch include herring, sardines, bluefin tuna, squid, and salmon. The number of catches have steadily decreased over the last 20 years. The centuries of overfishing have created fish populations to drop. Fishing communities are also decreasing. While the number of fish catches gradually increased worldwide, Japan was the only country that saw a dramatic decline since the 90s. This can be blamed on the food shortages after World War II. Fleets would fish in one spot until nothing was left, and then move on to the next fishing grounds. We are now seeing the consequences of this method. Japan is trying to implement a fishing quota. The whaling industry is significant for Japan, but have caused a lot of controversy around the world. Whether the whales are used for scientific purposes or for eating are still highly debated today. In the US, I remember watching a TV show with my little brother called Whale Wars. In the show, whale conservation ships try to stop Japanese ships from killing whales in protected waters. I personally do not eat whale. If my husband's family cooks whale meat, I tell them politely that I can't eat it. Plastics are a serious issue in Japan. This topic is discussed more under the SDG 12 video. There's a Western stereotype that Japan loves plastic, since many foreign YouTubers post videos about the amount of plastic they see in stores. When I first moved to Japan, I was surprised to see individual fruits, vegetables, and omiyage wrapped in so much plastic. Although 84% of plastics are recycled, Japan sends 20% of its plastics to countries such as Malaysia and Vietnam for disposal. In these countries, dumping trash in the ocean is a common practice. Also, there are no regulations in Japan for using microbeads in products, but companies can voluntarily stop using them in their products. The government of Japan and the United Nations Environment Program announced in 2019 to promote countermeasures against marine plastic litter in Southeast Asia and India. Japan has provided 123 million yen. To decrease hazardous materials around Japan's coastlines, the government passed the Marine Pollution Control Law in 1970. This puts regulations on oils, liquid substances, and sewage. Currently, there are 700 to 900 marine pollution incidents annually, mainly from oil spills and careless handling. Japan Airlines helps recruit and support companies to participate in the coral restoration projects in Okinawa. The coral reefs are deteriorating from increasing surface temperatures and an outbreak of coral-eating starfish. Nagasaki Prefecture has about 600 islands and has the second largest coastline in Japan. Sasebo and Hirado share 208 of those islands. It's affectionately called the 99 Islands. It's home to many marine species, including horseshoe crabs. The sea area is made up of Omura Bay, Sasebo Bay, Kujukushima, and the Uku area. The fishing industry includes oysters, yellowtail, tiger puffer, sardines, mackerel, and algae. The fishing center also helps produce these species. Occasionally, Sasebo City has red tides. Red tides are when the ocean water changes color from toxic red plankton. Red tides are caused by humans, including fertilizers and sewage, or by natural causes like floods and weather. The city collects and tests water samples in early summer to autumn for red tides. According to Sasebo City Hall, they constantly monitor the coastal areas. Omura Bay has a high concentration of phosphorus, nitrogen, and organic matter. Occasionally, Sasebo has volunteer cleanup days for beaches. Other organizations, like Blue Ship, also have cleanup events at Kujukushima. SDG 14 has 10 targets. This includes reducing marine pollution, protecting and restoring ecosystems, sustainable fishing, conserve coastal and marine areas, ending subsidies contributing to overfishing, increase economic benefits from using marine resources sustainably, and implement and enforce international sea laws. To help SDG 14, we must consider the other sustainable goals closely. SDG 13, climate action, is a significant method to reduce greenhouse gases and carbon dioxide levels in the ocean.
If stakeholders, the public, international agencies, and governments continue to work together, we can continue to find a balance between human activities and ecological sustainability.